Hello, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Crossing the Middle Ministry. Today I want to talk about joy. St. John chapter 15, verse 11. It says, "These things have I spoken unto you, that your joy might remain, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full." And that last part is what I want to talk about, where Christ said that your joy might be full. Now, notice the word says might be. If you're not filled in every part of your life, then your joy is not full. You have joy. We can go to a theme park, whatever, and have fun for the day, and we have joy. But now, if Christ is not in every part of you, then your joy is not full. If He hasn't fulfilled every part of your joy, then your joy is not full. This means family. This means job, financial activity. This means houses. It's talking about every aspect of your life, what you own and what you, if you are constantly feuding with your family, your joy can't be full. But now, if Christ is working on that, then that means that your joy isn't full yet, but we've got a ways to go. But okay, read this verse right above that, what Christ said. Notice that verse said, "These things have I spoken to you." Well, what things did He speak? Let's go back up just a couple of verses. It says, "As the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love." Verse 10 says, "If you keep my commandments, then you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in His love." And then it says, "These things I have spoken to you, that your joy might be full." Okay, so it's a pathway that we take to get our joy full. You don't become a Christian one day and then your joy become full the next, or even the same day. But these things takes time, and because of these things taking time, a lot of people think that Christ has forgotten all about them. Well, sometimes a tragic thing will happen and change your life, and people will think, well, why couldn't God just have avoided that? Well, sometimes the Lord has to bring a tragedy in our life in order to get those things out of the way that's blocking our joy. Christ, the Bible says that, what the Bible doesn't say it, but there's a saying that goes, God works in mysterious ways. And when God works in mysterious ways, that means that it's a mystery to us. So therefore we have a terrible time of trying to understand what God is doing in our lives and how He's bringing us this joy. When we honor God, that's what He says right here, "If you keep my commandments." When we honor God, God honors us, and He brings this joy into our life. When we bring the things that pleases God, causes Him to turn His attention toward us to bring these things in our lives. And the Lord has set things in a way that we earn. Well, the best way to spoil a child is give him everything he wants. Spoiled, that don't mean a happy little laughing child that gives you joy every time that you want to visit with your grandchildren, kids, whatever. No, spoiled means something that you need to throw out. People got mixed up today of what good is and what bad is, and what brings us joy and what doesn't. What brings a bank robber joy is taking all of your money, going down to the local bank and taking out all the money that belongs to a lot of other people. He goes out and he throws himself a party and has a glory old time. Excuse me. Well, a lot of other people is doing nothing but having misery because of that. Well, we've got to understand what joy is before we can have joy, before we can really get to the place where we can have satisfaction in our life, which will bring joy. Now, this is what God calls joy. Okay, God calls joy. God calls commitment joy. There's certain things in my life I have committed to give to the Lord that brings me joy. It brings structure in my life. Like being married will bring joy. Well, sometimes it don't. Well, that's because there's no structure in it. When we love causes you never to cross a line of hurt. When you love, that's why Christ continuously says, love, love, love. And these are the things that bring you joy. When you have enough structure in your life, when you understand what love is, when we have a compassion for others, that we have a commitment to not hurt, then and only then can our joy be full, and can we have joy. Because therefore, in that way, we have not only satisfied God, but we have satisfied our own hearts. Sometimes our hearts can deceive us in knowing what joy is. There's a lot of things to this subject, and it's a deep subject to talk about, but it's one that a lot of people need to hear, because there's just so much to the Lord. And God has not made this a hard way. God's made this a simple way. But let me tell you something, that's, you don't just scratch the surface and find the deep joys in God. You gotta hold those reins and ride that horse and keep on riding. And God will take you to this place that's called joy. And eventually we end up in a place called heaven, where we have eternal joy. I want to thank you today for joining me on another edition, and try to get back to you tomorrow. No, I will get back to you tomorrow. This is kind of a commitment I've made that brings joy in my life. God bless, and we'll see you again next time across the Middle Ministry.